I'm really excited to introduce the next speaker. So before I do that, I'd just like to brief everyone on the topic that David is going to be speaking about. So anyone can overcome difficulties, no matter how severe they are. And it's essentially a very personal story that David is going to share with us. It's his own story. And we really, really appreciate the fact that he's sharing his own story with us. David's going to talk to us about his mental health journey, things that he went through, and how art played a very important role in, him helping himself to heal and get over some of the challenges in his life. And it's all about being focused and having a good support system in place in order to be able to overcome those challenges. So I'd like to introduce David. David Armitage, I hope I pronounced the surname correct. David joins us from Ireland, and David has had issues in terms of depression and mental illness from his younger days when he was a teenager. I believe he's now 52 with 2 children and a pet snake, which is quite interesting. I'm extremely excited to hear David's story. So there are traumatic events in David's life, during childhood, his earlier years, that have led him to having to deal with depression and suicidal thoughts. And David's story involves the fact that he had an attempt to commit suicide 2 years ago. He has also written a book on this topic, and he's excited about challenging the taboos that, people automatically think of when they hear the word suicide. And that's something that I think in India, we're all very well aware of, probably more than in other countries. David's going to share his experience about how his art helped him to heal, and also how art helped him to, express some of the emotions that he's been going through. David works as a community worker, an IT trainer, and also a local politician in Belfast. So thank you, David, and it's over to you to tell us your story.
All right, thank you very much for that lovely introduction and welcome. And it's a real honour to be here and talk to you all about my story. And I guess the main reason why I want to tell my story is that if I can overcome suicidal behaviour, then there's no reason why anybody else can't. And it's something that I've found out. My story has saved lives already, so hopefully there'll be people watching this who'll be able to resonate with what's happened to me and seek help and carry on, because my story could have ended many times. First suicide attempt was when I was 13, and the last one was 2 years ago. So any time my story could have ended, but it's carried on, and I think that's the important point, because I would have missed out on so much, including speaking to you lovely people as well. So you never know what's round the corner. So keep on going for that. But the main reason why I became mentally ill is through traumatic events that happened to me. And the first one was I was adopted as a baby straight away. Birth mother gave me away, and I was placed in a dysfunctional family with lots of issues going on and stuff, and I had an older brother who's adopted. We're not related at all through blood or anything like that, but he was very abusive to me growing up. And so at the age of 13, I was at school, I was getting bullied a lot, and I just thought there's no point in life and stuff. So that was the first suicide attempt. But then school took over and took the initiative, and I changed schools. But I was first meant to go to university, and at that time it's when universities were quite prestigious in the UK. So, and I left school with nothing. So a lot went on there, and I sort of, and the next suicide attempt was when in my early 20s, when another traumatic event happened to me when I was living in near Reading in England, and eventually went to jump. One of the things that really hurt me in life is that it's only recently for mental health support and the taboos and the other subjects you've been talking about has been there. For a long time, I was just told to shut up. And I remember going to a GP when I was a kid, 13, 14, and basically he just told me to pull my socks up and get on with life and what's my problem. And then when I got home, my mum shouted at me for wasting her time. So that was all the support systems there that sort of happened in my early years. And so I just learned to suppress depression and try and carry on the best I can, which is very destructive and very dangerous, and especially for men as well. So jumping ahead to my 30s, I was married, graduated from college, doing a good job, and two toddlers then. But then depression erupted really badly, and with that became chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, and that caused the breakup of my marriage, and that led to a big suicide attempt shortly afterwards. And then things were a bit better. The GP helped and stuff, but then only got short-term help. But out of that, I managed to get involved with a few charities that helped, and one of them helped me bring counselling to get over the traumatic events that happened to me, and led to practical action as well, trying to prosecute my brother for what he did to me. But also there's charities that did basic things like encouraging me to leave the house to go for a walk, and my church was involved as well in helping me. And then so I learned to overcome a lot, but I still had the depression there as well. But then, as mentioned, I became a politician in Belfast, which I loved. It was a great job, managed to do a lot of good stuff, but Belfast is a very divided city, so that brought its own pressures on as well, especially the party I belong to, the Alliance Party Northern Ireland. It's the only big cross-community party, so there's a lot of prejudice from both sides against us for what we're trying to do. But for that, a lot of that time, for about a year before the final attempt, I had been actively suicidal for a long time, and there's a local charity, East Belfast Survivors of Suicide, helped a lot. And they kept me going and talked to me and encouraged me and kept me focused. And also my church as well, Belfast City Vineyard, there was lots of people there who knew my story, and I think in one of the previous speakers it talks about how could ordinary people help, and part of it is that they just understood my story and spent time with me without trying to counsel me or help me or do what the professional should be doing, but just let me sit and be miserable if I needed to be, but knowing that there was support and comfort there as well. But going to the last suicide attempt a couple of years ago, it was building up. Suicidal behavior thoughts have been going on for quite a few months, and for some reason I went to church that day because I knew the support was there and there's people that cared for me, but also I got overwhelmed because there's too many other people, there was too much going on and I couldn't cope. So I left church with a view just to calm down a bit, but I ended up finding myself walking into Belfast and formulating a plan to take my life. But for some reason I put this on Facebook that I couldn't cope and stuff, and then I turned my phone off, and I walked into the city centre to a bench by a river with the aim to take my life. But what I did not know was that both Belfast City Vineyard, the church I went to, and the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland, the party I represented as a politician, they took action. They coordinated a search of the city, and they stopped the service, and they sent out people to look for me, as well as other people in the community going out and looking for me as well. And I didn't realise that. And people joked with me afterwards, saying that it was the one few acts that united the whole city, which is usually divided, in going out looking for me. But when you are suicidal, you believe stupid lies. There's three main ones that I believed, and that was I'm not valued by anyone, and the world is better off without me. That's stupid, that's wrong, I know that now. The second is I'm the most stupid person on this planet, and I just burden myself with all my presence. And again, that's wrong. People remind me of do good stuff. I look at the history of Facebook of the stuff I've done, and I see good comments and good things I've done, so that's wrong. And the main one was that this mental pain, suffering, I couldn't cope, and and there's only one way of getting out of this suffering, and that was through death. And again, that's stupid because I'm healthy now and I'm doing really well. But what I didn't know at the time when I was sitting on the park bench, that the ordinary media picked up on the story as well, and this has led to more people out looking for me. And then it's like a Hollywood film in a bit, because I was just in my mind ready. I know what to do, and I'm going to do it. Then this couple came up to me and asked me, "Am I David?" Yep. And then they said they saw what my thoughts and stuff like that, and they wanted to get in contact with Naomi Long, who's the Alliance Party leader, and she's the Minister of Justice now. And she and her husband Michael are out looking for me, so they stayed with me, that couple, until Michael and Naomi came, who took me to the local hospital. And I was in a terrible state then. I didn't want to live and stuff, but I let them take me to the hospital. And I remember Michael asking me what to expect and things like that. And I said, I'll just wait for a long time, and then they'll give me a leaflet, and then I'll be discharged. He was shocked by that, but that's what happened. There's the emergency psychiatric team, and because of the health situation in Northern Ireland, that took about 6 hours for the emergency team to come to me. And then they gave me a leaflet with some advice and discharged me, because even though I was actively suicidal, I wasn't ill enough to be admitted. And I was an empty shell then, and I wanted to die. And then circumstances played their part as well. The house I was renting, the police had to break down the door because they thought I was still in trouble, so I was homeless for a while. But I want to jump onto some other stuff. That's what my story, and like, I'm healthy now. In March, I was the last antidepressant I took, and but I just wanted to, like, some pointers I got out of my life. Like, I'm the boss of my life. That was a big change for me. Not letting the depression or the trauma dictate, but letting me overcome. Let me become boss of my life was a big change. Doing an audit of my life, looking at the stuff that helped or hindered me. Like, I got rid of my adopted family, and my kids are the greatest benefit in my life, and they're one of the main reasons I keep alive now. I've mentioned a lot about art, how that has helped me an awful lot, because it gave me the tools to express stuff which I couldn't express through words, or I found difficult in counselling. But doing a painting really helped me to pour out emotion and put down onto canvas what I couldn't put down into words. And I started to, Liverpool is my team, that's a support football team, and they have specialists for everything. Their players are brilliant, skillful, but they need players to, they need people to make them better and to keep at top of their game. So I adopted that profile. I started to think like a top athlete, and that was a key principle as well. But in all of that, self-care is important, but not also realizing that I needed to still ask for help occasionally, because life is overwhelming, life is difficult. When you get better, it's not always an upward trajectory. It can go up and down as lot. So it's wisdom to know when I can help myself and when others need to help me. And that led me on to thinking about the human being, that we're body, mind and spirit makes us all up, and if one of those are wobbly or not a strong connection, then all the person is damaged as well. So it looks like a holistic lifestyle as well. That's like food, as well as physical exercise, as well as mindfulness, and just the environment I live in as well. So that was important. Instead of living on my own and now sharing a house with a couple of great friends, that's a great support structure as well. And that led on to creating good connections with people and friends, and as well as my church and the charities I mentioned, and still with the Alliance Party, even though I'm not elected rep with them anymore, I'm still in good contact with them. But also connections with the community I live in, and nature, and that's why I've got a pet snake. It helps me connect to the real world. And I think one of the best books, I do the self-help thing, coming back to that, one of the best books I read was by a guy called Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I really recommend that, because in it he says that when somebody gets their meaning for life, then that gives them an impetus to live a bit more. And I'd like to add that to create a good character. Yeah, we can have the meaning of life, we can find our thing to do, but if we're not a good, healthy person, then that's another barrier. So I look at those two things as well. Um, like my art, I mentioned that as well. That's a good way of improving my self-esteem as well, because I didn't believe I was any good at anything. And so but then when I started to show people my paintings and they said, well, that's good, I just thought they were being nice. But the more the people said it, the more people expressed, yeah, that is good. And then it's been in art displays and in art galleries in Belfast, but I've also sold a few pet portraits as well, and especially to a friend in India. She bought one recently, which is brilliant. So that shows that I must be good at something, so which is great as well. So that's part of discovering my meaning and purpose, and also telling my story, because I know that that can help. I wanted to focus mainly on the positives of just like, yeah, that was my story of how I came to the decision to end my life, and I'm so grateful that I haven't, and because it's led me to carry on and show that I can overcome, and I am good at stuff and good in this life. And like I said at the beginning, if I'm no different, no more special than anybody else on this planet. So if I can do this, and with those principles that I've shared and overcome, I'm in a much better place now. I'm off medication. Very rarely I get depressed or anything now. I get downers, but then I know how to lift myself up, and I've got a purpose to live and stuff like that. And I get on better with my kids, who, unfortunately, because I was ill for so long, they didn't have a good dad. But now, hopefully, I'm trying to become a better dad now and restore relationships. And then, so that makes me good, and it makes me want to carry on. And that's what the thing I want to leave with people, that you can change your story. Through friends, through professionals, but also through yourself as well, that you are good enough to carry on and you've got a good purpose in this life. So if I can change around an awful lot in my life, from being a recluse who was suffering from traumatic events which happened in childhood, early adulthood, and now I'm in my 50s, I can overcome all that. And nowadays, with lifespan, I'm still young, so I've still got a future ahead of me. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that has helped you all as well.
David, thank you very much for that. We can't let you go so quickly, so we've got a few questions for you. Am I audible, David?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. That's great.
Thank you for a very personal story that you've taken the time to share with us. The first question that I actually have for you is my question. You spoke about the pet snake and the fact that that's something that's a part of your life. The puppy, the painting of the puppy that you've sent across to your friend in India is actually a puppy that we rescued and she homed. That's how I know the friend that you're talking about. And I've seen the painting, so it's fantastic. Thank you. What role do you think pets play? For example, we've got multiple cats and dogs at home, but I'm just very interested to know, what role do you think pets play in terms of helping people with mental health issues or depression? And what benefits do you think animals can play? Probably more to people that have never had a pet before or are considering that. How do you think they help?
They help an awful lot. It's one of the main reasons why I got my pet, and I chose a snake because it's easy to look after. At the time, I'd have loved a dog, but there's too much responsibility. But I've got friends who had pets, and it was great just going around to their house and just playing with the dog. But it's that relationship thing. It's part of it. Is that even though a pet like a snake is not that responsive to a dog, there's still a relationship thing there as well. But it's also, the main point is taking off the thought off myself and onto something else. I'm responsible for a pet. So it makes it more difficult then for me to act irresponsibly or to succumb to mental health pressures and neglect myself or neglect another living being. That makes it a lot harder to to become suicidal or actively suicidal because you're looking after something. And also there's just the therapeutic benefits of stroking a dog or a pet, or letting it interact with you as well. And also dogs need exercise, which is always good. So taking them out for walks and things like that as well. And they're good
Okay.
company, they're good fun pets. So playing around with them, playing with dogs, it's a lot easier to play with a dog than a snake. So
You
yeah.
should come and visit us, and you'll have lots of dogs to play with.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. David, so one of our listeners has had a question for you. What are the thoughts that go through a person's mind when they're on the brink of taking the drastic step? And, the answer to this question may help people sort of understand what they're going through. So could you share your views on that with us?
Yeah. I sort of hinted in the talk about that it's just wanting an end to suffering. I think that's the main thing. Wanting an end to being a burden to people and seeing no purpose in carrying on in life. Reality gets distorted a lot. But mine, I'm speaking for suicidal behaviour, so reality gets distorted a lot. And I think if you do meet somebody like that who is actively suicidal, I think the best thing is talk and spend time, and then get help. I think if you remember those three things, stay with them, talk, but don't expect a response. I find it really difficult to talk and communicate when I'm really depressed. But get professionals in. You're not going to. You may save them, like I said in my story, the couple who then got friends to take me to hospital. That's what saved me. Otherwise, I would have. So it's and there is, I think, Assist Charity. I think they're a worldwide one. They do training for. It's called Suicidal First Aid Training, to teach people how to talk to people, and it's so yeah, just talk, spend time with them, and then get help.
Okay. The last question we have for you is, what are the therapies that can be used to handle suicidal tendencies apart from psychiatric counseling? Um, Probably you can share your view, especially your art or anything else.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of time we just mentioned about talking therapies, and they're helpful and do have their place, and there's different types like psychiatric in depth, overcoming traumatic stuff, but cognitive behavior therapy, they've all been useful for me. But yeah, art therapy has been a good one as well. And probably an interesting one because the trauma was quite physical against me, and I always hated myself. I became a life model, and that was partly because I see that as a healing thing, because people are turning me into a work of art, which is a positive thing. So yeah, um, there's probably loads more, but that's the two I can think of. There's change. It's getting to that belief that you can change your circumstances and change your world. So whatever helps you to get there. Um, like for one charity just took me for walks because at that time getting out of the house was a real battle, real fear and stuff. So, and going for walks was a big challenge. Some days just opening the door was enough. So, yeah, I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you so much, David. It was wonderful to have you with us. And, we would, I'm sure, all love to interact with you if you ever happen to visit India at any point in time.
I'd love to
Um,
come. So, yeah,
You should. You should. I think you've made a lot of friends here today. So
thank you.
you're always going to be very welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It was wonderful to get to hear your story. Thank you again.